You know that feeling when you're explaining something to someone and you remember reading that perfect article about it, but you can't find it anywhere. Your browser has hundreds of bookmarks. Some services shut down or change, and losing access to your bookmarks is a real risk. And every service's tags are only as good as your effort the day you saved it. In this and over the next few videos, I'm going to show you how to build a bookmark system so smart it practically reads your mind. By the end of this video, you'll have a working automatic bookmark pipeline that tags and summarizes links for you. And in the videos after that, it'll get even better. We'll start with a fresh install and end with an AI-powered knowledge base that organizes itself. Let me show you exactly what we're building. I've found an interesting article on the web that I'd like to save. I can do this from a phone or a tablet or my computer. When I save the article, the workflow extracts the full content and sends it to Ollama for analysis. No manual input from me. The AI reads the entire article and decides what tags make sense based on the actual content, not just the title, and then it summarizes the article and stores that in the bookmark. Now let's go a lot further. I'm watching this amazing video on my phone. I tap the like button, not exporting or sharing or saving, just click that thumbs up button in the native YouTube UI. And the workflow grabs the video ID, pulls some additional data using YouTube's API, maybe grabs a transcript, then sends all that text to Ollama. Transcripts aren't guaranteed. There are multiple ways to get them, and the workflow falls back to the video description or other sources when a transcript isn't available. Within seconds, Ollama analyzes the content and generates tags like data tables and performance automatically based on what it actually found in the content. And the bookmark is automatically organized into the videos folder. This is pretty amazing. The first example is really easy to achieve, and you will have that by the end of this video. The other example is a lot more complicated. If I took you through all the steps to get this working, some of you would kill me. Folks panic when I do some of my simpler videos, so the way this video was going would be really bad. I started with Karakeep, a super cool bookmarking tool, and then I didn't like one little thing that it did. So I incorporated N8N into it, and it integrates really well. I built out a workflow, but I didn't like that I had to use the HTTP request node to call the Karakeep API. So I built a pretty awesome integration node. And I really want to show that in some detail. And then I didn't love the capture stage, so I found a better plugin for that part too, which has some config settings that can be confusing and needs an updated workflow. I looked at my script, and it would take me 55 minutes to read it. And I don't know what you've seen, but I'm not at Mr. Beast levels of attention grabbing. Not just yet. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. This video is just going to be about installing Karakeep and getting the basics running. So that means the first example will work great. With that in place, you'll be ready for the rest. The next video will show what I don't like and introduce a workflow using Ollama and N8N that improves on the basics so incredibly well. And then there'll be a video on how to improve that workflow with a custom node that I wrote. And then in the video after that, I'll show you some extra bits you can do to make it even better. This way, everything will be a whole lot more digestible. I think it really is worth the time because this is such a key part of my workflow, and I think a lot of people are going to find it really useful. So at the heart of all this is Karakeep. Karakeep, as I mentioned, is a bookmarking tool, formerly known as Hoarder, that lets you store and retrieve everything you find online. Karakeep on its own is pretty great. It can capture web pages and videos and images, auto-tag them, summarize content, and more. Everything updates in Karakeep automatically. So when you open your bookmarks, the tags and summaries are already there waiting for you. This creates something fundamentally different from traditional bookmarking. Instead of saving a URL and hoping you remember why it mattered, you get a searchable knowledge base that grows smarter with every link you save. The AI reads everything, and it remembers the important details so you can find exactly what you need when you need it. So that's our goal in this video, and what you should be able to recreate. Karakeep runs on Docker Compose. Think of Docker containers like moving boxes. Everything you need gets packaged together so it works the same way no matter where you move it to. Docker Compose lets you take advantage of those containers and orchestrate multiple containers in a single application stack. The Docker Compose file handles all of the orchestration automatically, but you'll need to configure a small .env file with your URL and API secrets. This centralizes settings and keeps future tweaks simple. The Karakeep docs include complete Docker Compose and environment variable examples, so check those out for the full configuration details rather than trying to piece everything together from scratch. I have a few examples in the example.env file already in the directory. Now, before you actually clone my home lab repo and get started, let's think about where all of this should go. You probably want to test this on your home computer first, and that's totally fine for getting familiar with the system. But what happens when you want to save a bookmark from your phone while you're out, or your laptop is closed for the night? That's exactly why you need a VPS, a virtual private server, that runs in the cloud and stays accessible 24/7. Unlike your home machine that goes offline when you close the laptop or lose internet, a VPS gives you always-on access from anywhere. You can run a lot of services on these, and they don't have to be expensive. There's always someone who sees this and says they have an old PC they can use. But it's so easy for your internet to go down for an hour or a day. Are you really going to lug that server to the library with everyone else in your community when that happens? I've been using Hostinger for about 6 months for this exact reason, and it works really, really well for services like Karakeep and N8N, which we'll talk about in the next video. It's not great for running AI models directly because there are no GPUs, but that's where Tailscale comes in handy. I can put the VPS on the same private network as my home laptop and phone, connecting everything securely no matter where I am. Ollama runs on a home machine with a GPU, and my services access to them as if they were on the next box on the rack. Setting up a VPS is straightforward. Hostinger happens to sponsor this video, and I actually use them, which is why I said yes to the sponsorship. Go to hostinger.com/mattw for their VPS options. I use the KVM2 plan, which handles multiple services well. Down the page, you can choose a lot of ways to set up your machine, but I think the Docker option is the most flexible as your application, since we'll be running containerized services. That's what I use. Before you move on to the next screen, use code MATTW for 10% off, and then go through the rest of the confirmations and you're ready to go. To get Karakeep going, we're going to do 8 things. The first step we've already taken care of, and that's finding a place to run from. Next comes putting the software on the server and securing the server. Step 3 is to make it easier to log in to our server from our home machine. Step 4 is to get Tailscale on our server and make it easy to let our containers use Tailscale. Step 5 is configuring Karakeep and spinning it up. Step 6 is to configure and spin up Caddy, which is a reverse proxy that lets us run lots of services on this one server. Step 7 is to set up our DNS. And step 8 is to use Karakeep and have fun. I'll keep this on screen to help you track how far along we are. When you first spin up the server, you really should lock down SSH access and set up the firewall properly. You should always use key-based authentication and disable password login to prevent unauthorized access. This protects your data and keeps your self-hosted services secure. The easy approach to doing this is to clone my home lab repo and run a script that you can find on there. Someone in the comments is going to say you should never do this, but I'll prove it's okay by reviewing it with you. I already have a machine on Hostinger that I'm going to wipe so I can demonstrate the whole process. I run my production setup from a different Hostinger VPS. Okay, so first I go into the firewall settings. I want to ensure only ports 443 and 22 have access to the box. That's HTTPS and SSH. So I'll add a firewall and call it my firewall, then choose edit. You can see there's a default rule that rejects everything. Then choose SSH from the protocol dropdown and click add rule. Then choose HTTPS and add that rule. Now go back to the previous screen and enable and activate the firewall. Now click the button for Browser Terminal. This will log you into the server as root. Now copy and paste this command into the terminal to clone my HomeLab repo. Then go into the new HomeLab folder and run less prep.sh. This lets us review the script. At the beginning, I set the defaults for the script and then run apt install to add CSH and EZA, which is a better LS. Then it asks for a username and password, and then for a domain name. I own a domain tvl.st based on my name, Technoevangelist. I want to use kk.tvl.st to access my Karakeep bookmarks. That won't work for you since I own that domain, not you. I have a bunch of other domains that I also use for other things. You should have your own domain that you use. I just bought another one a few days ago for $10 a year through Cloudflare. So whatever domain you use, enter it here. So for me, it's tvl.st. Now the script creates the user and sets the password. Then it copies the SSH key to the new user and sets the permissions correctly. Next, it hardens the SSHD server to disable root logins and password authentication. Then finally, at the end, it copies all my example env files and other files to use, and replaces any mention of a generic domain to your domain, and copies all those files to the new user's home directory, and that's it. So I'll run the script and enter those values. Within a few seconds, it's all done. Close this browser window and open up the terminal on your machine. Go into the config file in the .ssh directory in your home directory and add an entry for the new server. It should look something like this, though with a different IP address and key name. Now I can run SSH Hostinger and log into the server. First thing to do is to install the Tailscale client to this box. Go to the Tailscale admin page and on the Machines tab, click the button to add device. Choose the Linux server option and then click Generate Install Script. Copy that script to your VPS and run it. Then run sudo tailscale up. Now we have Tailscale on the VPS and we need to get Tailscale to run on each of the Docker containers. So go into the .config folder in your home directory and create a file called tsauthkey. Go back to Tailscale admin page and click Settings and then Keys. Generate a new auth key and give it a name. It should be reusable and then click Generate. Copy that key and paste it into the tsauthkey file. This key will be used to add containers that register it to our Tailscale network. Now go to the HomeLab folder of your home directory and then go into the Karakeep folder. Take a look at the .env file. You'll see that the melee master key and the next auth secret have been set to random strings, and the URL for Karakeep has been set to kk and then your domain name. If you haven't installed Tailscale to the machine where Ollama is running, you should add that there. Then get the fully qualified domain name of that machine and set it to the Ollama base URL in the .env file. If you want, you can take a look at the Docker Compose file to see what's going on. There are three main services: Web, Chrome, and Melee Search. This is pretty much the standard Compose file in the Karakeep repo. Then at the bottom is the Tailscale service. The name and the host name are set to Karakeep on HSTGR, or Hostinger. And there is a TS extra args environment variable set to use a key in /run/secret/TS auth key. That is put there from the secrets entry listing TS auth key. And that comes from the top-level secrets entry that says to use the TS auth key file in the .config folder. Finally, back in the web service, there is a network mode set to service and the name of the Tailscale service for Karakeep. Now you should be able to run Docker Compose up-d. Within a few seconds, Karakeep will be up and running, but we can't access it yet, at least not in a permanent kind of way. We can go to the Tailscale admin page and click on the Karakeep on Hostinger entry in Machines. Scroll down to the bottom and you should see an entry for port 3000. On the right side, click the Open link, and that will open a new tab to Karakeep. If you don't see that entry, you probably renamed your service for Tailscale, but didn't make the corresponding change in the network mode entry in the web service. Fix that, then Docker Compose stop and Docker Compose up-D. When you're at the Karakeep sign-in page, go to the sign up link and create a new account. Logging in won't work yet because it's expecting us to be at a different URL. Now, let's go to the homelab/caddy folder and edit the .env file. We need to set the Cloudflare API key for DNS. Now, if you're not using Cloudflare for DNS, you'll need to figure out the right way to do this, but that's a bit out of scope for this video. Cloudflare today is probably the most common way folks do this. I switched most of my domains from GoDaddy and Network Solutions and Gandhi and Hover all over to Cloudflare. To get the Cloudflare API key, log into your Cloudflare account and then click Manage Account in the sidebar. Click Account API Tokens and create a new token. The permissions should be zone edit and zone DNS edit. Update zone resources to point to the domain used in prep.sh and then copy the token and paste it into the .env file. Now take a look at the Caddy file. You'll see that there's an entry for kk. And then your domain name. That's set to reverse proxy to the Tailscale service for Karakeep. But because we're using Tailscale and not a public IP, then we get the TLS certificate from the Caddy integration with Cloudflare, using that Cloudflare token we set up earlier. Now run Docker Compose up-D. This will take a few minutes because it's building the custom Caddy image using the Cloudflare integration. Again, if not using Cloudflare, you'll need to figure out the right module to use and build that in the Docker file. While that's still running, we can go to the Tailscale admin page and find the name of the VPS. To the right of the name, there's an IP address. Click the drop-down menu, and then click the copy icon for the IPv4 address. Go to Cloudflare, and then DNS for your domain name. Create a new A record for KK, and paste in the IPv4 address, and click Save. Then go back to Tailscale, click the copy icon for the IPv6 address. Back in Cloudflare, create an AAAA record for KK, and paste in the IPv6 address. Click Save. At this point, Caddy should be up and running. Depending on how fast the cloud propagates the DNS changes, you may be able to go to kk.your domain name in the browser and see the Karakeep sign-in page. If it doesn't work, you may have to wait a few more minutes. When you see the sign-in page, use the username and password you created a few minutes ago. Now, let's find an interesting article you'd like to save. Paste the URL into the new item box and click Save. If everything goes right, you should see the web page show up, and then the title set correctly, and then the tags should show up. Click the account icon to the top right and choose User Settings. Scroll down to Options and change Bookmark Click Action to Open Bookmark Details and go back to the home page. Click on the bookmark you just saved, and you should see a reader view of the article, and on the right side, you should see a summary of the page as well as tags. If the summary and tags don't show up, make sure you have the Ollama models listed in the env file. Wherever you have Ollama installed, run these 3 commands to ensure that you have them. Then, try adding another bookmark. You can use other models, but I found these work just fine. Now go to karakeep.app and scroll down to the bottom of the page. Grab the extension for your browser and install it. Set the URL to kk.your domain name and then log in. Now find another article you'd like to save and click the Karakeep extension. When you visit the Karakeep page, you should see the summary and tags, and now it's all working. When working with videos, you may find that the thumbnail for the video is just a large version of the channel image. I'd suggest reading this page to solve that problem, which is really the most I can say on this topic. Let's take a look around now to see what we can do. Go to the user settings by clicking the account icon and choosing User Settings. Usage Statistics shows us how many articles we have saved. AI Settings allows us to tweak the prompts used. It's kind of limited what you can do here, and overall, I'm a bit disappointed with the AI features, but we'll fix all of that in the next video. You can subscribe to RSS feeds and import or export bookmarks from other services. Some integrations prefer to use API keys instead of username and password, so come here for that. Webhooks combined with the API is perhaps the strongest feature of Karakeep, and we will rely on that for the rest of this series. The rule engine is interesting, though I doubt I will ever have use for it because what we're going to do in the next video will be just so much better. Next, come to the admin settings. Users is where you can add or remove users to this server, and background jobs shows us what the server is doing in the background. Let's go back to one of the articles we saved. Select some text in the article and then choose a color to highlight it. Back at the home page, you can click on Tags to see all the tags added to your bookmarks, and Highlights shows all the text you've highlighted in the reader view across all your bookmarks. I hope you can see how useful this can be. I am really digging using it, but it isn't perfect. At first, it feels like the killer feature is its AI integration. Automatically tagging your articles feels like a huge win, and they have made it super easy to get started with. But I think the real killer feature is a combination of the webhook and the API. We'll explore that in the next video and be able to expand on the limitations of the AI features. It'll help make Karakeep an important part of something that makes a huge impact into our daily lives. So I hope you're excited to see that. If you're watching this in the future, I'll link to that video right here. Otherwise, it'll show something else pretty interesting that you should watch. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.